Ah, the beach. The staple of any island getaway and the perfect place to relax. The ocean breeze blowing through your hair, the rays of sun upon your skin, and the soothing sound of waves crashing onto the land, all accompanied by the stunning view of an endless sea. Here on Pokemon Island, the Pokemon like to gather here to bask in the tropical sun without a care in the world, each of them enjoying the day as they naturally would. Beach is the first course in Pokemon Snap, and like the name implies, it takes place upon the coast of Pokemon Island. Along with the natural landscape of the course, several man-made structures and items can be seen throughout, the most obvious being a rail track we ride that spans across the entire course, providing a bit of environmental storytelling regarding the presence of humans that once lived here on the island. The beginning of the course also features a sandy shore decorated with palm trees, moss-covered rocks, flowers, and a discarded surfboard. It is also where the course's Pokemon sign can be located. The rest of the course has us traveling across the rocky coastline where more vegetation grows, providing soft beds and hiding spots for the Pokemon here. The ending portion of the course features less and less vegetation except for the moss covering the ground. And at the end of the course, there is an indent in the cliffside where a nest is resting upon some foliage across from the pond. The Pokemon sign for the beach course is Kingler Rock, a formation of moss-covered stones and a wooden structure that, when looked at a specific angle, resembles the Pokemon Kingler, who isn't present in the game. Kingler Rock does fit the course perfectly, considering Kingler is normally found on the beach or in the sea itself. Now that we know all about the course itself, what Pokemon can we find in our visit to the beaches of Pokemon Island? 12 different Pokemon can be spotted on the beach course. 7 of them can be photographed on the first visit, while the other 5 require the Apple and Pesterball, which are obtained later in the game, to be able to see them. As soon as you begin the course, the first Pokemon can actually be seen curiously swooping in down to see us, a flock of Pidgey. Pidgey, the tiny bird Pokemon, is known for being one of the first Pokemon you see in the wild for red, blue, and yellow. It's the first 3-stage bird that started the trend, so it fits in line to be the first Pokemon we see here. Along with its first encounter, Pidgey can also be seen 2 more times throughout the course, out of a patch of tall grass along with a couple other Pokemon, and returning home to its nest after a long day. Each time Pidgey does appear, it flies at an eye level, making pictures of them easy to capture despite constantly moving. They also can be hit with apples and Pesterball to lower their altitude a bit, or have them fly away. An interesting fact about Pidgey is that within this game, Pidgey does not utilize the English dub voices for its cry. The one in-game resembles that of a real-life pigeon. After the flock of Pidgey, the next Pokemon can be seen making a mad dash, almost cutting us off. A Doduo startled by our presence frantically runs off into the shoreline. Doduo, the twin bird Pokemon, is known for running at quite fast speeds. Most Pokédex entries say it's about 60 miles per hour, and the fact that its 2 heads are often working together. Both encounters with Doduo have it running off frantically, most likely startled by the player or other Pokemon. It can be struck with a Pesterball or an apple, causing it to collapse onto the ground and lie there for a bit before getting back up. One funny thing I've noticed about Doduo is with its second encounter where it runs outside of the tall grass. Of course, in game there isn't any indication where it goes due to the game's FOV, but using the NoClip website, Doduo can be seen running off into the ocean before its model is eventually removed. The next Pokemon in the course is the complete opposite of the 2 before. Just sitting on the beach minding its own business, Pikachu can be seen vibing near a surfboard. Pikachu, the mouse Pokemon, is seen in several courses of the game. Being that it is the mascot of Pokemon itself, it makes sense that it would appear in several different locations, and also have multiple special photo opportunities. Along with the one we see chilling on the beach, there is one other occasion where 2 Pikachus can be seen. With the first Pikachu, you can lure it out with apples towards the surfboard and it will hop on it pretending to catch some waves. The 2 other Pikachus can only be found by throwing Pester Balls into the large patch of grass where flowers can be seen on top of it. this will cause two Pikachus to run out and on top of the two tree stems. Playing the Pokeflute that you obtain later on the game will cause the Pikachus to shoot lightning bolts out, giving you the perfect opportune time to take a wonderful picture. Further into the course near the end of the shoreline and across from Kingler Rock, a Butterfree can be seen hovering over some flowers. Butterfree, the butterfly Pokemon, is most likely pollinating the flowers and collecting honey from them. There's a total of 6 Butterfree flying around the beach around a patch of flowers, and all of them at pretty high altitude and varying speeds, making them a bit harder to take a picture of. The Pokeflute does nothing for them, and throwing anything at them, if you can't hit them, doesn't affect them at all either. Now, before moving off the shoreline, if you take a look out into the sea, you can see something emerging from the ocean. Making a stunning appearance is the gentle sea giant Lapras. Lapras, the transfer Pokemon, is known for being a Pokemon that is very rare to encounter, due to it being caught near to extinction. It is a sight of beauty seeing it thriving in the ocean surrounding Pokemon Island though. Lapras can be seen multiple times throughout the course, popping in and out of the blue sea, and by taking pictures of it each appearance, more and more would show up with each encounter, as well as grow a bit closer to the island, granting the opportunity to take a better picture of it. By utilizing the NoClip website, it can be seen that Lapras' model isn't of the full body itself, but only what is seen as it comes out of the ocean. Leaving the shoreline and entering the grassy coastline of the beach is where we'll find the next Pokemon, a big sleepy guy atop some soft grass. At first it's not possible to take a picture of it properly, with its head being obscured. A Pester Ball or the sound of the Pokeflute will wake it up, revealing it to be Snorlax. Snorlax, the sleeping Pokemon, is at the beach doing what everyone knows it for, sleeping, matching the relaxing tone of the beach course though. One interesting tidbit about Snorlax is that in the early footage of Pokemon Snap, he seemed to be more active, walking around and even waving at the player when they passed by. An interesting thing to notice for sure, considering the Snorlax in the final game only sleeps unless provoked. He does hit a little jig when the Pokeflute is played though. Along the way after Snorlax and further into the course is Meowth! Quite the little prankster himself, that being Meowth. Meowth, the Scratch Cat Pokemon, is out and about playing tricks on whoever it feels like. We just happen to be one of the lucky ones on our tour of the beach. Meowth can be seen 3 more times throughout the course, causing mischief wherever he is. The next 2 times, they're chasing out Pidgey and or Doduo out of the grass, while the last time we see it is by the Pidgey's nest where it's given his due punishment through a gust attack. Just like Snorlax though, Meowth was also in the beta of Pokemon Snap. Funny enough, the animation of him jumping out to scare the player is present in the beta as well. Meowth also seems to feature a bit more facial expressions in the beta, which is probably cut due to them not needing them in the final product. Also, if you want to teach him a lesson personally, you can always toss a Pester Ball his way. The next Pokemon we can encounter is actually not available on the first trip to the beach course. They're currently wrestling within the patches of tall grass, slicing up a storm. The one responsible for this aggressive hedge trimming is Scyther. Scyther, the Mantis Pokemon, is only found when Pester Balls are thrown into the tall grass where blades of grass can be seen flying above. With a direct hit, Scyther will fly out, shouting its name, flailing its blades about, and then taking its leave. The tall grass with the flowers features 2 Scythers that can be hit not only to lure them out, but also cause 2 Pikachus to run out of the stumps as said before. The other patch of tall grass has one lurking inside of it, but is easier to hit since there's not much area for it to move around. Something I did notice while on the NoClip website is that Scyther isn't really in the tall grass at all, and only really appears when the wrestling grass itself is hit. The model could easily be made very small until the hitbox is struck and then resized for the actual encounter itself. After cruising along a bit and going over the bridge, we can notice a pink sphere being chased around by something near some rocks. It turns out this Pokemon chasing this ball is none other than Eevee. Eevee, the evolution Pokemon, is the only one of its family that appears in this game. Sorry, there's no Eeveelutions. Just saying it now so no one else is disappointed. Eevee's model here looks way better than the one in Stadium, a game I'll cover in the future, and is honestly more adorable because of it. Interesting enough, hitting Eevee with a Pester Ball or an apple while chasing the pink ball will not only stop Eevee but the ball as well, most likely because they're tied together in their routing. But what is that pink ball? And why does it have a face? Well, if we decide to hit it with a Pester Ball, then it's revealed to be Chansey. Chansey, the egg Pokemon, is actually what Eevee is chasing around. The real question is, why is it rolling around in a ball-like form? Oh well, best not think about it too long. And as a Pokemon known for being hard to find in the wild, and one that runs away constantly, it is refreshing to see Chansey casually playing in plain sight with the other Pokemon, adding to the relaxing nature of the beach course itself. On the last bit of the rocky coastline, near the end of the course, a Pokemon can be seen enjoying a small patch of flowers. Unfortunately, it's impossible to take a good picture of the Pokemon unless you decide to toss something its way. Kangaskhan, the parent Pokemon, can easily be provoked by hitting her with either an apple or a pester ball. This will cause her to run up to you letting out an angered roar. Although Kangaskhan doesn't hold that mood for long, as it will go back into a jovial mood reassuring its young that we're not a threat. I really like that they made Kangaskhan very expressive here. She truly shows off how much of a protective mother she is to her young, and also understanding that you are not truly trying to harm either of them. I could only imagine how bad it would be if you did get perceived that way though. Now, there is one more Pokemon that can be found on the beach. However, only by throwing an apple or a pester ball into any body of water will it spring up. Magikarp isn't unique to the beach course. In fact, it's available on every course of the game, except for the last one. For every course, I will go over the location they can be found in. While you can easily have Magikarp leap from the ocean itself, there's a small body of water at the end of the course where a better picture can be taken, as well as a stream beneath the bridge. As much as you can take a decent picture of it here, there are better situations and courses where Magikarp can be found. And that's all the Pokemon that can be found on the beach course. A decent variety of them, ranging from the rare encounters like Chansey and Lapras to the common Pokemon like Pidgey, Doduo, and Pikachu. It's very cute seeing them all out here enjoying the day by the coast. But how about the music for the course? Does it also add to the mood? Now, while all the music in Pokemon Snap aren't the longest tracks, mostly to conserve space on the cartridge, Ukuku Momori does a really great job at making the minute-and-a-half long tracks encapsulate the feeling of each course. You'll probably hear the song loop once before the end of the course, but I believe all the tracks are really catchy and easy on the ears, to match the carefree moods of the Pokemon on Pokemon Island. Also, I've listened to each track at least 1,000,000 times to overanalyze them, so I'm familiar with them all. The music of Beach gives off a perfect mixture of being laid back, having whimsical fun, and the excitement of exploration all in the same song. Being played in the key of C major in 4/4 time at 96 beats per minute swing time gives off quite the chill first impression of Pokemon Island. The intro of the song introduces us to a couple things that will continue throughout the entire track. First off is a high-pitched note on every offbeat, giving the track a jumpy tone. Now, I'll be honest, while I have access to the Pokemon Snap sound font, I cannot for the life of me figure out what instrument is responsible for this noise. I tried to see if it was the trumpet, the piano, or the steel guitar MIDI, but unfortunately nothing sounded perfectly like it. I might continue to mess around with it or try some other sound fonts that might share the instrument itself. If anything is discovered, I'll make a future update. The bassline also kicks in at the beginning of the song. Within this intro section, the bassline is fairly simple. Only being made up 2 different notes, it's quite the catchy bassline to start off the song. There's also the drums, only hitting one of its toms, that goes off every now and then to build up and then finally rolls into section A. Section A adds in the main melody played by the steel drums, and a backing drum beat to move the song along. The melody plays an ascending and descending pattern at what feels like a dragging pace. This creates a relaxing tone for the song itself, feeling like you're going up and down hills on a slow-moving vehicle. The longer pauses feel like the melody itself is mellowed out, while leaning into each note after the pause. For people who like faster-paced music, this can be the bane of their existence, demanding the spaces to be filled in. But we're here to relax, not get worked up. The high-pitched offbeat notes turn more active, becoming a strumming-like pattern of the chord progression, in which I believe the guitar MIDI is used. The bassline also picks up a bit while still staying within the same range of the intro. Becoming more active going up and down the scale, the bass line is matching the melody's lazy dance with the more funky one. The newly added drums are also there assisting the bass line and pushing the song forward throughout the melody's slow stroll, with the tom once again leading the charge into the next section, that being section B. In section B, every previous instrument stays the same, playing the same pattern as the last pattern, but now a choir MIDI is added to sing the chord progression of the song, simply adding some extra texture, emulating the breeze from the sea. The main contender here is the French horn that comes in, adding its own melody to the song. The French horn takes a hold of the spotlight, becoming the new main melody for the song, still keeping the dragging feel with longer notes slowly going up and down the scale, kind of adding a build-up to the melody leading into the climax of the song itself, while still being complemented by the previous melody. Section C, the climax of the song, most notably changes the key to E flat major, pushing the song to the big finale, adding tension and emotion to the end. The choir MIDI picks up and joins the French horn in making the final melody leading up to the end of the song. All while the choir is picking up with the French horn, the steel drums gain a bit more action leading into the end of the song. The bass also begins to become a lot more active than before, leading the melody along to finish the song off strong. As the song comes to an end, each instrument ends in section C on the leading note that would follow up into the first note of section A, perfectly setting up the loop to the song. The music really does a great job at matching the mood of the setting. Such a relaxing tune for the beach. The bass line and backing drums keeping the song moving like the 0-1 moving across the rail track, while the main melody continues to set the relaxed mood that all the Pokemon are feeling. The build-up at the end really enhances the feeling of discovery and excitement for the journey ahead. After all, the shores are only the beginning. Being the first course of the game, Beach lays out the welcome committee for Pokemon Island, showing how the Pokemon who have zero human influence freely spend their time out in the open without a care in the world. Some are startled by our visit, while others are curious or unbothered. Our first encounters on the island, but definitely not the last. There's always more to come here on Pokemon Island, and it continues on the tunnel course. I'll see you all then.